All right, today we're going to talk about rotation in the backswing. How much is enough? Can it be too much? Big Sean and Big Mike are going to answer Big Will's question today on rotation. So Big Will wants to know, can you have too much rotation in the backswing as far as speed production goes? Is there a point of diminishing returns? Go.
Yes.
I agree, yes. Now let's elaborate. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so I think there are two ways to look at this, two perspectives to look at it. I tend to look at things more from a body orientation perspective because I've been using gears for 2 or 3 years now, and Mike has it now too, but he's had the pressure information a lot longer than I have. So we go about it in two different ways, and we're always learning from each other, and I think it helps us both. So for me, again, this is kind of near and dear to my heart again, because when I was trying to play, and a lot of the things that you guys have questions about, I've tried them. I'm able to make the swings that the teachers I've had teachers over the years have asked me to do, good or bad. Mm-hmm. And I've tried almost everything that you guys have questions about. Now this one, the issue is when you overturn too much, I call it almost a fake turn at that point, and I'll show you what I mean. At one point in my life, in my early 20s, I was instructed and I attempted to, if I had a line here against my right leg, I was trying to work my hips away from it on the backswing kind of excessively. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, I was able to turn my hips a lot, and I'm not a flexible guy. And by overturning them, once I was able to get on 3D system, indoor swing cat pressure plate, and look at the data it produced, I was having a hard time getting out of that and getting open enough at impact. Because of the time situation, that ties kind of into what Mike has to say. Now, if I do that and rotate and gap away from this line, I'm able to rotate almost 90 degrees with my hips. Okay. And that is too much. And the way to kind of look at this is, if I rotate correctly, which is, I prefer just a little bump to the right with the pelvis and a winding of the hips, and it feels totally different in the hip joint. Your kind of glute will start to
activate the glutes.
Trying to avoid that. That's what it will feel like.
Sure.
And I can only get about 45 degrees. I can't go any more than that. So when I first got on a 3D measurement device, I think it was K-Vest, my hips had 0 degrees of tilt and 65 degrees of rotation for a guy that has a hard time with any kind of flexibility.
I'm the same way, very inflexible historically, even at my peak in college athletics, and I think I was 65 degrees.
Yeah, so what we've learned over the years is that, okay, there needs to be some tilt to the hips on the backswing in order to get the transition correct, so you don't tilt too soon, a whole lot of things that go into that we've covered in other videos. But if you can feel like you load into that hip a little bit differently, get some angle to the hips, I'm governed anyway. I can turn as much as I want at that point, and I'm not going to overturn them because I put my body in the correct position. Right. And Mike and I talk about this some. If I make that swing that I was making before, if Mike pushes on my grip, and I really have nothing from there.
And I'm not pushing very hard. It's very weak right here.
I can't put very much energy at all into this grip in the first part of the downswing, which actually is limiting your power because you want to pump in some speed here. If I get positioned where I should be with some tilt to my hips, you want to just flip around, go the other side. If I get positioned where I should be with some tilt to my hips, my body in the middle here, I can still get my arms up here, but now
I'm the weak one.
Yeah, so it's kind of a simplistic analogy, but I mean, it clicked with me. And that's how I look at, yes, overturning can limit your speed.
Yeah, there's a number of ways to look at this question. So there's a group of guys out there, we've all watched them on TV, that play for about $7 million a week. Mm-hmm. If more rotation was all that was needed to hit the ball farther, you would probably see 99% of those guys really adding more rotation. Yeah. The difference is the game's not about hitting it farther, you have to hit it far enough. Yeah. But the game's not a long drive competition. Mm-mm. They make it seem that way because they're in such great shape and execute so well. So that's one thing. It's not what the best players in the world are doing. In fact, we see those guys with a lot of times with as much as high 20s, low 30s of rotation.
Yeah.
And it's because of the timing of when you're able to do that. So the way that I look at this problem, we call it a problem because most golfers, especially as we get older, we don't really have the ability to hit it as far as we did. And things get tighter and we can't turn as much. So the solution is we need more rotation. I hit it 5 yards farther, get a little more, 10 yards farther. Now I've got a lot more, and all of a sudden I'm either stopped there or I start shrinking the distance again. So there is absolutely a diminishing returns. You have to look at it like this too. We're big on timing. If it takes me my quarter of a second that I have on the downswing, and I can get back to, let's say, 30 degrees open at impact, and I start at 30 degrees closed, which is a number one of our pros does. He goes from 30 to 30. That's 60 degrees of rotation in a quarter of a second.
It's a lot.
There's a chance that you're not going to be able to do 90 or 100 degrees of rotation in that same quarter of a second.
Yeah.
So you're going to be locked up either closed or square at impact. And then all the things that help you produce more speed with the club are going out the window for the sake of trying to add more rotation.
Absolutely.
And then another way to look at it, we try to think about this stuff all the time, is
Different angles.
if I'm, compare it to any other athletic motion. So if I want to jump higher, what are the ceiling heights in here?
Ooh,
20 feet?
yeah, 15, 20 feet.
Probably at my height, I could have maybe touched those with a ladder. But if I wanted to get as high as I could up to that ceiling, I wouldn't get there by doing this,
Nope.
right, and jumping.
Nope.
Nor would I get there by doing this and jumping. So there's that sweet spot for all of us where we can produce the most speed.
Absolutely.
So it's not about, this isn't getting me very high. Somewhere in here probably will. Then if I keep going down lower than that to jump higher, it ain't gonna happen.
No.
So
It's the
yes,
ideal spot.
there's an ideal spot for all of us relative to the timing. There's no timing in the jump. But in the golf swing, we're bound by when that club, the club's not stopping. So when is that club coming into the ball? We better have sorted out that I'm gonna be X open to hit the shot I'm trying to hit versus X closed to hopefully hit it farther.
And that ties in perfectly to, going back to the 3D story. When I first got in a K-Vest, I was 65 degrees closed on the backswing, and I was 10 degrees open at impact. So not only was it costing me speed, I had some major hooking issues.
That's right.
Because my body couldn't get open enough because it didn't have enough time, like Mike said. So there's a give and take in all this, but for all intents and purposes, the initial question was, can you overturn? Yes, but if you get your body in the right position and use correct timing, you can probably turn as much as you want and not overturn. Would you say that was probably
100%.
Yeah.
And not turning as much as you can isn't the same as restricting your turn.
That's right. That's right.
If I can come out of all my golf angles and get 85 degrees of
Yeah.
hip turn, it ain't gonna help me.
No.
If I stay in my golf angles and I can only get 42, just because that's where my flexibility is, that's plenty to hit the ball as far as I can hit it.
Yeah.
Me trying to stay in these angles and go an extra minute is only gonna make me hit it shorter.
And I think one last thought to that just popped into my head. If you were to get to the top of your swing and you are overturned to the point where you have no slack at all, as soon as you make any move toward the target, you're going to rotate rubber band. So I like the idea of leaving a little slack in the system, especially
That's a great point.
the differentiation between your upper and lower turn, because that's part of it too. How much disassociation you can get from your trunk to your pelvis. If it's maxed out and you stretch this rubber band, as soon as you change direction, you're going to pitch this club.
And a great way
in
to
a
know
bad
where
spot.
your spot is in your golf swing, when Sean was demonstrating that, he could not talk
At all.
the same way.
Yeah, if I get here, now all of a sudden I'm strained to even, yeah.
You can't, if you get to a point in the swing where you can't talk, can't breathe, you've gone too far.
So not only distance problems, then you get into sequence problems, and
Which
pressure
destroys
issues.
distance.
Yeah, so it all ties back in to the initial idea. Yes, you can overturn. We hope this helped you. I know there's a few different ideas in there, but we like to attack it from different angles because people learn differently.
Absolutely. And if you're unsure if you're turning enough or overturn, send us a video. Send it to swing@athleticmotiongolf.com. Be happy to take a look at it. But yes, we all raise our hands. You can turn too much. It can be a detriment to your speed. Start thinking about it and more of what's your sweet spot for rotation rather than just ramping up
Max out.
rotation.
Good. So let us know if you think you're under-rotated or over-rotated or don't have enough difference between the upper and lower. We'd love to hear from you, and we love the questions. So if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the button below, and we'll see you in the next video.